We spent the past few months Dodge demon swapping this Ram SRT 10 truck, and up until, well, very recently, things were going awesome. We dropped our new engine in place, wired everything up, gave it a little bit of fuel, and cranked it up without so much as a hiccup. But then, that's when we got the proverbial kick in the groin in the form of a massive oil leak on the top of the engine. On one hand, we can't find anything major wrong with the engine, and that's good news, but on the other hand, we can't find anything wrong at all, and that's kind of our whole problem here. After spending hours combing through this engine, we still can't figure out where the oil leak's coming from. My goal by the end of this video is to fire this truck up and take it for a leak-free drive 100 miles down the road. So the very first thing we're gonna do here is replace the two most obvious leak points on the engine, the VVT solenoid and these MDS plugs. The VVT solenoid, this one's fairly straightforward. It's one single 10mm bolt, and the purpose of this thing is to supply regulated oil pressure to the cam gear, which from the factory will either advance or retard timing, but since we did a camshaft and locked the cam sprocket's ability to do that, we no longer need this thing. Originally, I inquired about just getting a replacement O-ring to reseal this thing, but it turns out you cannot buy these separate from Dodge. You have to buy an entire new solenoid for like $200, no bueno. So instead of wasting money on that, I bought this billet aluminum plug that's made exactly for situations like ours. As is standard, before we stick this thing in, we'll go ahead and lube it up a little bit. That'll get the easy one out of the way, and as for the wiring, we can just tuck this back somewhere behind the engine. We'll find that flop around under the car later, I'm sure. Now for the next one, it's not one plug, but four of them, and all four are blocked by these coolant lines, which I'm hopeful we can just disconnect from the back of the cylinder head and sort of bend or massage out of the way. Well, they're disconnected, but they don't move a whole lot. I don't want to risk breaking them, of course, but I also don't want to take them off because then we have to drain our cooling system, which I'm hoping to avoid here. I'm genuinely not sure if we're going to be able to pull these front ones out. We're going to give it our best shot. Honestly, I don't even know how these come out. We're also going to have to figure that out. The only real method we have to put any pressure upwards on these plugs is under this metal tab. And the second we do that, that happens. Okay, so these back two, they just came out way too easy. I was able to turn them with a pair of pliers. That hasn't been the case with the front though. I don't know if that means that maybe these ones weren't seated good. Maybe it's the cause of our leak, though I doubt it because there's oil forward to that, but who knows. From the ones I've seen so far, none of the O-rings look bad. So I don't know that this is our cause, but hey, gotta do it. We're already in here. There we go. All right. As for our replacement plugs, if we ever have the misfortune of having to pull these out, which don't get me wrong, I really hope we do not, they have a threaded hole on the top, meaning we stick a bolt in and just pull it out with that, which I gotta say is much preferable to burning screwdrivers and jamming them through the plastic plugs for leverage. All right, we are theoretically, hopefully, fingers crossed, sealed up. Now we just gotta refill the blower, slap it on, crank it up, and hope it's not pouring oil. All right, we're gonna do this without the forklift. We were smart last time. I don't know if you'd call what we're about to do smart, but it's gonna work. All right, lay it right there. We'll get all the way in here. Let's do it. I gotta get off there. I'm in.
Yep, I'm in.
All right. That wasn't too bad. It turns out you don't need a forklift to do this. You just need two people standing in a very large engine bay.
Could be worse.
You ready?
No.
Come on. Things are gonna be fine. 80% sure. Run.
He's alive!
Again, how well is it alive? Let's find out. I kind of forgot that this is one of those times where you don't run around to the front of the car and expect to see oil pouring out. Considering last time this thing took multiple heat cycles to even show that it was leaking because all those holes in the valley had to fill up with oil before it started pouring down the side of the transmission, I guess we'll, I don't know, let it run for 5 minutes, stick the borescope under there, see if anything's running down the back of it. Good a plan as any. This really is the boring type of oil leak. I guess we'll use this time to clean up all the junk off our wiper cap. All right, we got another good news, bad news situation here. The good news, I don't see an oil leak yet. But we do have a leak of a different variety, specifically the pink type. coolant is coming down from basically the same area, though with this, I'm pretty sure I do know where it's coming from, and this isn't nearly as bad of a fix. These guys are our heater hoses, and I believe that we may have snagged one when we were pulling this blower out originally, and I think that's the source of our leak. I did say this would be an easy fix, and it is, but it's definitely not a comfortable one. And since I clearly can't show you what's going on the actual engine, I'm going to show you on this spare Hellcat engine we have here at the shop. Our hose, it was sitting about like that. What I think happened though was our heater hose, it roughly routed right around this coolant temperature sensor, and when we pulled the supercharger, I think it yanked up on this hose and just put a weird enough tension on this clamp that it stopped sealing. So the temporary remedy for this, it's not permanent, but until we have the engine out again, if we do, push the hose further down on this barb, and finally stuck a worm style clamp where the original clamp should have went all along. So if this works, we'll be great, fine, dandy. It won't leak coolant anymore. And if it doesn't work, well, we may just have to pull the blower off again to try to get a good crack at this thing. And I really hope that's not the case. All right, attempt number 2. Underneath, we do have a couple stray drops of coolant. I believe that's just remnants. I don't think it's actually leaking anymore now that we double clamped it. Most importantly though, the oil that was pouring down there, I don't see any of it yet at least. So since last time, it took quite some time to be able to see our leak coming down the side of the transmission. We're gonna see what we can see through the borescope. We're way back in there, and this isn't a really great look, but to the best I can tell, there's no pulled up oil there. It was all these channels that were full. That's one of our new block off plugs. Coming back further, if we can get this massive heater hose line out of the way. This is the front side of the engine. That's our VVT plug. That's another one of our MDS plugs. Again, pretty hard to see, but I don't see any obvious oil leaks. Yeah, at least so far, I don't see anything. We've done 2 roughly 5-minute heat cycles at this point. I'd say our next heat cycle, probably take it outside, right, Fernando?
Yep.
It's got brakes now. Should drive.
Should do a burnout.
It feels like the wheels in this thing are going like this. The alignment's bad.
Yeah.
Bad. Still do a burnout probably, right? Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
Well, it's not leaving a trail of fluids, so there's that. Will it shift? Sort of. The shifter isn't real precise, but it did shift. Now, okay, we're in 3rd gear. Hey, I don't see a trail of anything behind me. It runs all right. This runs good.
Is it done?
Well, it's definitely not done. Can you do me a favor, look under this thing? Hey, we gotta clean this thing up. There's still so much stuff in here. I honestly don't know what half of it is. We'll have to kind of figure that out when we reassemble the interior. I truthfully did not anticipate on driving this thing today. I would have had it cleaned out before we did that. I don't know how much stuff we just lost. But for now, just gonna throw it all in the back.
I can't assume that it's gonna fly away.
We're not going that fast. It ain't ready like that yet. I mean, come on, there's cobwebs on the truck still.
Okay.
So you're gonna hop over here in the passenger seat, and just so we're on the same page, it's not bolted down, so do not lean back.
Oh my God, dude, I know what you want to do now.
Let's go.
This is not going anywhere. Okay.
My seat's not bolted in either. We're in this together, all right?
Okay.
Hold on, does this thing work?
Oh!
If you've been watching this series, I think we're first, you know that I'm not the best with automatic transmissions. This is pretty much my first automatic transmission build. In the first few times I shifted it in gear on that first drive, it took a while to actually do it. I don't think it's shifting in the 3rd. Yeah, we might have to play with the shifter cable adjustment. Either way, it's still driving. That's just one problem at a time, all right? Oh, there we go, it's in 3rd. Oh, my seat lifts.
Really nice. Yeah.
This thing's cool, man. I knew the truck was gonna be cool. I didn't know it was gonna feel this cool. This thing drives. We definitely shouldn't have done a burnout in it. We gotta wait till it gets tuned to do that again.
10 out of 10.
What? My driving skills?
No, that sucks. The sound?
It does sound good, right?
Yeah.
Man, not quite ready to call this a win yet. We still don't know if oil's leaking on there. I say we'll let it cool down, pull it on a lift, and see what it looks like.
Alright, did you cross your fingers?
I almost don't want to get under here. If we're able to take this thing out and do a burnout and then it has to come back apart, that would suck. But I don't see anything. Yet, at least. The last time there was no questions about it. There was oil everywhere. Now we still have just a couple trace amounts of coolant. Yeah, that's coolant. You see it coming down the back of the bell housing. It's dried out. I think that's just the stuff we weren't able to remove with brake clean. Thus far, I don't see any oil. I'm still not quite gonna call it a win, but we're like 95% of the way there. Though there is one oiling issue that we just completely overlooked. This didn't at all cross my mind until I went to check the oil, but we never put an oil dipstick in this thing. I just have a rubber vacuum cap plugging the hole. Now, because of the fact that we're using an aftermarket Holley oil pan, there's not a real off-the-shelf option for this. So we're gonna try to retrofit one off a Scat Pack. I think the Scat Pack tube's gonna be the ticket, given that it's a little bit longer than this Hellcat one, and it has a curvature that's nearly perfect for us. Keyword, of course, being nearly. We are gonna have to do some modification to the thing. My idea is that we're gonna run it up behind the engine, and then we're gonna need to bend this portion to fit in our dipstick hole, and then once we do that, find somewhere where we can weld a bracket on it and secure it to the block. We put nearly a 90-degree bend in the bottom of the dipstick, so now when we shove the top up behind the engine, we can, at the very least, get it in the hole. Not only did that work out pretty good, but I found this old hole that was machined into the Demon block, but it was never drilled all the way through. I ran a tap into the threaded boss that's made to retain whatever's supposed to go in that hole, and I think we're gonna get away without welding anything to this dipstick tube. We're gonna try to just use one of these guys, and I think it's gonna work out pretty awesome. Imagine that. It's one of those rare times working on cars where something goes smoother than it was supposed to. The last piece of the puzzle is we have to make sure we can actually get our dipstick in. The tube is way back there. I know it's tough to see, and yes, I think we are gonna have to get in the engine bay in the future to check the oil, but hey, is what it is. There we go. Perfect location for it. Out of sight, but not quite out of mind.
You vacuum this thing?
I'm a professional detailer now.
Well, I mean, you missed a couple spots, but...
Look, let me clarify. I detailed away all the wire clippings, metal shavings, and everything else that was, dirt. Let's be real. While the truck might not be the safest contraption to be riding around in, I would prefer if it's safe for everybody that's riding behind us, so I don't want all this garbage flying out on the highway. Our fender liners, which we will have to reinstall at some point. We've got the official box full of miscellaneous hardware instructions. This is what I call a project box.
Okay. It's a lot of trash. How many pounds is that?
That's a good question. It's actually not that heavy. I thought it was like rubber, but it's actually a foam. It's not heavy at all. What is this? Had to be for the exhaust. Yeah, this is a piece of the bed that got cut out for the exhaust. Not exactly how I wanted that to go. Now the true purpose of this is we need to collect as much data as we can and send it to Rick at Victory Racing so he can get this thing tuned up and running right before we take it up to the dyno. Just hopping onto the highway, like laying into it a little bit, merging speed, it whines so good. Usually that's a bad thing, but it's all blower. It sounds awesome. So the only thing that's a bit concerning, the intake air temperature is high. I got that intake right in the front of the engine bay. It's getting pounded with fresh air. It's not cool air because it's 95 degrees out today. It might be a location of the sensor, I don't know, but it's far higher than I'd like it to be.
Oh, she's driving.
It rides awesome. The intake air temperatures are really high. We're gonna have to figure that out. But otherwise, it made it here. No problems, drives good, sounds awesome. I think we fixed our leak. There's nothing on the ground under the truck. There's no smells, there's no smoke, there's nothing weird. F it, let's call it a win. The supercharger is deafening, and I love it. All right, a couple thoughts here. One, the fact that we built this thing essentially from scratch, fired it up, fixed a few leaks, and drove it down the highway without really any issues at all. Amazing, I love it. It almost never happens that way. Thought number two, it might be deceiving in the videos you guys just saw, but I didn't go over 25, maybe 50% throttle. I was really not hammering. In fact, the other day when I did a burnout, I wasn't hammering it either. This thing is a burnout machine. Even laying into the throttle, there's so little weight over the rear end that it just lays down rubber on the road. It's gonna be a real challenge to get traction in this thing.
That's what you built it for, right?
Not quite. I mean, I do like it. It's fun. It's gonna be awesome to do that going down the street. But at some point, we actually have to make this thing fast and not just a smoke show. After all, we do still have this list of goals written down on the roof. I didn't forget about those. And only a few of them are related to burnouts. The other ones we actually need to have traction for. Other than doing 50-mile-an-hour burnouts at 50% throttle, there are a few other small issues. And this one's more of an inconvenience, but where we put this Holley dash, I thought it was small, so let's put it closer to us. What I didn't take into account is that because it's not sat back under the dash, it's getting blasted by the sun, and I can't see shit. So I don't know, maybe we'll build a hood for it to keep the sun off it. Maybe we'll push it back under the dash, I don't know, but we'll have to take care of that before we put any real serious mileage on the car. Truck. At this point, I'm probably not going to get that. I thought I'd get it. It's not happening. Other than that, though, it really is just the IATs. Now, I did think that that little pass-through I did in the grill was going to be more than enough to provide this intake with all the fresh air it could ever want, and I do still think that's the case. I don't necessarily know that this is a mechanical issue. If it turns out to be that, we will have to build another intake. So those IATs are disgusting. It's just asking for knock detonation and all kinds of other nasty things to happen to the engine.
We're in cars, they say. It's gonna be fun, they say, right?
All this morning, we've been trying to fix our IAT issue from yesterday. We unloomed the wiring. I tried to pull a reading from this sensor in the lid, but that one, because it's at the top of the blower, it's not a great representation of what our engine's truly getting air temperature-wise. That was giving us a falsely cold reading. At that point, I had to start looking for other issues. I cracked the bleeder on the intercooler system. That was fine. I even went as far to put a piece of duct tape over the small hole in the intake that's meant for some type of sensor, you know, when you're actually running that thing on a Hellcat. Unfortunately, none of that did anything. I took the temperature of the coolant running through our supercharger. That never got above 130 degrees. But when I used the infrared thermometer and took the temperature of the blower right next to the sensor we're collecting data from, they matched nearly identically. So at this point, my theory is that the IAT readings that we're getting are more a measurement of how hot the metal is on the supercharger than it is of the air going through the supercharger. So the last thing we're gonna do before we, I don't know, start making new intakes and see if that does anything is relocate our temperature sensor to the back of the supercharger. It's a sensor just like this one. It's in an identical location. I just want to see if it changes anything. There we go. And yes, some things still suck, even when you're working on a truck. That rhymed, didn't it?
Yeah.
It did take me 20 minutes. I've been in this engine bay for a solid 20 minutes. You guys have seen 30 seconds. This has not been fun. The one other thing I want to try out to see if this has right into the engine bay any effect on our IATs is remove this shroud that covers most of our intake. A couple episodes ago, I did put that hole in it, thought that was going to be good enough. Suppose there's a chance that the engineering department here at the shop didn't get it right.
Which is you.
Barely even that, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did engineer this,
Okay.
if you want to call it that. I said, hey, that looks like it would work, and stuck it on. And we are gonna need all the cold air we can get, because I just got a text from Rick, you know, an actual professional that said, and I quote, go floor it. Say no more! Wow! Wow, IATs are only 133, that's what we need them to be.
God!
Guess not a police, right?
I don't know. Okay, it looked kind of suspicious.
We are the suspicious looking ones. I mean, there's just a 360 cam hanging off the back. I couldn't help it, I'm sorry. I just couldn't help it. I have a confession to make, and I'll make it just right now off the rip. We haven't even done anything with this truck yet. I did not think I was going to enjoy driving this thing. I just thought it's a truck build. Let's do it, it'll be cool. This is more than cool. This is awesome. What's the IATs? 135? Oh, we're Gucci. There ain't no traffic behind us. And it spins straight, which is important, obviously. You ready?
Yeah, sand it. Oh, we got a leak.
What?
Something leaked right here. Coolant.
I smell it. Coolant temperature's fine. Everything looks pretty much fine, but also there's another police behind me. Sir, did you realize you just left 200 yards of burnout marks on the highway?
I don't know what you're talking about. I never thought that automatic car is gonna be fun.
This is a little bit different automatic, right? Like, you gotta shift it, and it shifts firm, it shifts good. Oh, man. I would be genuinely surprised if these tires last 2 weeks. I'm so serious about that, it's not even funny. It's fast. There's literally no denying it. It's fast, like way faster than I thought it was gonna be. I do think there's a lot we can do to improve the traction on this outside of tires. We can play with the CalTrack some more. I have to figure all that stuff out. Don't forget those QA1 shocks we put on this. Well, I do believe we are out of fuel.
Go ahead, let's hear it.
I am immobile. I'm gonna need a just a quick 5 gallons of gas. All right.
I think fuel is an important part of a car,
Fuel
right?
is definitely required to do the things that we've been doing. Yes, it is. That's a good observation, Fernando. We were logging, and I think I caught it on screen cap. We were about to do a pull. I get the laptop back out. This says fuel pressure 15 psi, down to 6. Yeah. Oops.
That's delivery.
Yeah, I appreciate this. This is
No problem.
quite the lifesaver.
You know it's bad when the Mercedes reliability is...
They drive these like 900,000 miles in Egypt. I've seen it.
Fuel is important for a car, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, lifeblood, man.
Uh-huh.
You need that.
Let this serve as just your friendly reminder that 6.2 liter supercharged V8s, they're not fuel efficient at all. Fuel pressure's back. All right, we're good. This thing eats through gas. We're good.
Dump the fluid.
Let's see where it's coming from. Oh yeah, we're leaking this time.
Heater core.
Oh, you lose a line.
Oh.
What?
I think we figured out where that coolant was coming from, right? Oh, look on top of the blower.
Okay.
Those clamps, I mean, they lose their spring tension over time. And on a rubber hose with a lot of pressure on a cooling system that's probably seeing more demand than it ever has.
Oh yeah, more demand indeed. so this guy's our culprit. It's that same heater hose we had issues with on the bottom side, just now it's up top. The question is, of course, why did it come off? It could be something as simple as worn out old clamps, which we'll see as soon as we can manage to get it back on, or it could be something worse. Something like a clogged heater core, which isn't the biggest deal. Then there's the big one, a blown head gasket or something like that, which we're not even gonna think about that for now. Let's see, the bottom one, that's on there good. I can't rip that off. The top one, I could be wrong, but I think the culprit is this clamp that I may or may not have mangled when I took the heater hoses off previously. What we're gonna do, just to rule out two of the potential causes here, we're gonna replace the clamps, that one's a gimme. We're also gonna try to put some water into the heater core and see if that's clogged. I suppose it could have built excess pressure if that was the case. Who knows? Zero idea if this is actually gonna work, but it's worth a shot. All right, we can rule that one out pretty clearly. It's not a clogged heater core. It didn't take any pressure. A pressureless pressure washer got through it. Putting together a car like this, a swap car, and just kind of wringing out the issues, it's just part of the game, right? Fernando's about to do it too.
And I'm definitely concerned about that.
It's all right. Like, this is fine. Heater hoses pop off. You lay coolant down all over the road. It's just part of the game.
They make them look like this?
Yeah, this engine bay looked good until like 20 minutes ago. New clamps are cranked down. If they come off, we definitely have a bigger issue. We got coolant back in it. Now it's time for, what's the segment called? New Tech Tim's Tech Tip of the Day. I have to say that very slow.
That's a tongue twister. Can you say that faster?
New Tech Tim's Tech Tip of the Day.
I thought you almost had it.
New Tech Tim's Tech Tip of the Day.
That's good.
Not gonna make an icon for that, like something like music comes up on the screen. Anyway, we're gonna pressure test. Tim's gonna pressure test the radiator.
We're gonna pressure test it.
This is gonna tell us if we drive the truck out of here and see what else breaks, or we just start screaming and cussing and put it on the lift because we have to tear things apart. So
Hopefully the first one.
yeah, I'm sure it is. Okay. Right, Fernando?
I don't want to talk about it.
You guys see what he does, right?
No, I'm just kidding. It looks great.
It's segment canceled, all right? I think it was just a bad old clamp. Soggy, deteriorating hose maybe, I guess.
I don't know, man. I feel like it was just a bad old clamp. Like soggy, deteriorated hose, probably.
All right, no head gasket needed.
You know what that means, right?
What?
We're gonna take it right back out and see what else we break.
No, we don't got fuel.
Oh, yeah. We'll put more gas in it first.
That's enough for 10 minutes, right?
3 pools, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we've worked out most of the kinks in this thing. We put 100 miles on it. We reached our goal, 130-ish to be exact. There's no more leaks. We definitely fixed the oil leak. Now's when the hard part comes. Next episode, we're gonna dyno it, track it, and tow with it. If it doesn't break next episode, I think we built a killer truck. On the other hand, if it does break,
Which it will.
I almost said possibly. I think it's more probable than possible. Either way, we'll find the next weak link in the truck and fix it again. We got to figure out the traction situation, so I got some sticky tires on the way, some small little wheels that'll hopefully help us hook up a little bit. While this build's been going on, I have been working on a lot of other cars. I haven't been posting a lot of other videos. Now that this is, I'm not going to call it wrapped up, but at least close, we can start posting videos about this car, even this car, maybe some of the other ones in the other unit that you haven't seen. Fernando, turn around. Anyway, that's a wrap. We got something to look at.
Adios. What happens when you spend all your money on demon stuff in your truck and then...
I spent the money on the build, didn't really have enough left for the gas. I was trying to budget the gas that I had allotted for it. Anyway, I guess, well, you know what? This will fly out the back, so.
Pressure test number 10.
Have I mentioned I hate building trucks?